the four important vectors that we're going to see today are called position, velocity, and displacement. I don't know how many of you heard, but Boca Chica had its first successful rocket test. Did you guys hear? The big rocket in Boca Chica finally took off. And it took off, and it stood in the air about 150 feet, and then it gently came back down without harming the spacecraft at all. Now you say, Mr. Mian, I thought spacecrafts were meant to be destroyed. They were meant to be destroyed before. But I don't know, how many of you watched the space launch from SpaceX this year? The one that sent astronauts into space for the first time in many years.
Oh.
Okay, one person. I watched it live. It was very exciting. But you guys know, the rocket, usually in the 60s, what would happen is you would send the rocket up, and the rocket would start breaking apart. And the parts would fall into the ocean, and if you could get them, you could. But then if not, they would sink to the bottom of the ocean. That's how that was done. Now, technology has advanced so much that the part that fell off of the rocket had its own rocket inside. And it managed to land perfectly on a platform. Like it maneuvered itself onto a platform. That all has to do with, you have to know how fast it's going, the turn of the Earth, the power of the engines, the power of your jet fuel, the propulsion, and all of that has to do with these three things: position, velocity, and acceleration. Okay, so let's talk about these things, and let's make sure that we understand what's going on. So let's talk about number one, position. What is position? Who can tell me what position is? Very good. Where you are. But position has two words that are very, very similar. And these two words are called displacement and distance. And they are not the same. I very much like the game Pokemon Go. I love it because it tracks how far you walked. So in Pokemon Go, Mr. Mian has his phone out with him, shall we say, and he's walking from his house, and I like to walk to the park. I like to walk to the park by my house and back. So Mr. Mian walks to the park, where there's a bunch of trees and stuff, and let's say that the distance from Mr. Mian's house to the park is about 200 meters. So not very much, right? Mr. Mian walks from his house to the park and back. Any questions so far? So then let me ask you this question.